EAC force in between, or rather the mandate of the EAC force was clear at that particular point too. They call it the EAC RF, was there to sit in between, to act as a buffer, to protect the population and to stop the escalation. And we did that very well, without firing as much as a shot. Unfortunately, of course, we have got at least a soldier who died, Kenya Air Force soldier, one who died before we came back. And then we were unceremoniously asked out. But then we can't then now start, it's a crisis, we can't then cover ourselves out of it and say this. You will remember that there is what is called the First African War. It was fought in that area. Then there is a Second African War. A lot of people, it's fairly recent history because the First African War, I think, was in 1998. Then the Second African War was later on, I think, in 2003, 4, or 5. I might not remember very well. It's in the same theater. So it now looks like the Eastern DRC looks like a tinderbox of this particular region. That is the place that most likely a crisis will come from. Actually, from where we sit, there is already tanks wagging that could this be the third All-African War? Because you will remember there were other players who came in during the first, what is called the first All-African War, and then the second one. That place has proved to be the graveyard of very serious militaries.
But where does that leave Nairobi now in terms of providing a safe, comfortable ground for all these parties to come discuss? Because today we expect that meeting, but are we certain that all the parties will show up for the talks?
I have seen a post by an ambassador from DRC who apparently served with when we had the East African Youth Council. She's now an ambassador in her country. She's always been very critical about Nairobi, of course saying that Nairobi is impartial and stuff. I want to simply say that, you know, Nairobi has been for the longest time the region's diplomatic center where you come to, because literally we do not have any personal interest. We don't share a border with them. The Congolese have actually been coming to Nairobi Nairobi has been a refuge for the Congolese for the longest time. And the easiest thing is actually to ask the administration in DRC to still consider Nairobi as the brother they've always done. Because even when we put in our soldiers, they did not have any side. We were non-aligned even when we put in soldiers and led that particular mission. Okay. So our place in this is so simple, is to up our diplomacy. Somebody has to be an adult in this particular situation, and however much the passions that are around on both sides. This show is not very competent to actually go the tactical way, because if we were to speak about the tactical way, we might spoil a lot of things. But for the time being, let us ask that Kinshasa treats Nairobi as that brother who has always held their hand. And we've walked with them a long way. It's only fair
when
that
they give the embassy that you wonder if we still hold that position as big brother. But then again, we had President William Ruto talking about the fact that he held a discussion with the French President Macron on this, and a lot of criticism.
Yes.
People asking him